Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this meeting of the Syracuse Planning Commission. We will begin in just a moment. I want to note a few changes about our procedure for this meeting, our last meeting of the year. We do have a rather long agenda with 15 public hearings scheduled for this evening, along with new business in addition to the hearings. So that's one of the reasons we are beginning an hour earlier than our traditional 6 p.m. start time. And at some point, probably around 6:30, we will take a short recess of 15-20 minutes or thereabouts. I say close to 6:30 because we're obviously not going to stop in the middle of a public hearing or as people are speaking. We'll come to the close of a particular application before we move to that. In addition, we're going to take some of the applications this evening out of order from the numerical order that you see on the agenda that's printed on the table in the back of the room. We think there may be several applications this evening that might proceed quickly, and that would allow those involved with those applications to not have to stay here all evening while everything else is going on. So we think we can hear and dispense with a number of applications at the front end, so we'll do that. And then we'll continue with everything else on the agenda. We hope to cover everything that's on that very long agenda before we leave this evening. So keep our fingers crossed and see what happens. We will begin our hearings in just a moment, and I will tell you our thought right now is we will begin with application SP-18-29, the application, the project on North Townsend Street, followed by R-18 57, the re-subdivision on Madison and Harrison, followed by R-1852, the re-subdivision on Hawley Avenue, followed by R-18-53, the re-subdivision on Park Street, followed by R-18-55, the re-subdivision in the 400 block of South Salina Street, followed by SP-18-25, the project on South Cross Avenue, and then SP-18-24, the Marcellus Street project, and then the project on Erie Boulevard East, PR-18-37, and then 3S-1827, the 3 Mile Limit case in the town of Clay. So, and then we'll circle back to the top of the agenda and pick up all the others. Just by way of process for those who may be new to this proceeding, as each application is announced from the podium, we would ask that the applicant or their representative come forward to the podium, provide their name and address for the record, and then a brief summary of the application. Following questions, if any, from the commission members, we will then invite members of the public who wish to speak in favor of the application at hand to do so from the podium, again providing their name and address for the record and their comments. And when those individuals have finished, we will invite members of the public who wish to speak in opposition to the application to the podium to do the same. And where comments are made in opposition, we will encourage the applicant to return to address those comments made in opposition. So, with all of that by way of background, we welcome you, and we'll try to cover all of this material this evening. So Heather, if you would introduce our first application, please.
Yes, good evening, Commission members. Mr. Kulik, the first public hearing, as Mr. Kulik had stated, is SP-1829. This is a special permit for a not-for-profit community center at 1026 North Townsend Street. The Vietnamese community of Syracuse is the owner and applicant, and the property lies within a business class A zoning district.
Commission members, planning staff, and members of the community. I'm very happy to be here to present to you application for a special permit. I'm sorry, my name is Craig Polhamus, 114 East Genesee Street, Fayetteville, New York. I am the project architect for this. Not a whole lot of work here for me. Basically, this community center has been in operation for a number of years, and we're seeking to get a special permit so they can continue to operate in the same capacity. As you may know, the members served by this community have been in Central New York since 1979. This group that is run out of the community center, has been active since 1984. The community center has been using this building since 2007. The building is essentially a two-story wood frame structure, and it has been used as a community center. It has a small computer room, meeting room of less than 600 square feet, and apartment upstairs. We have met with Heather and her staff and basically made some changes to meet the current guidelines from the city. Essentially what we're doing is decreasing the curb cut from 24 feet to 12 feet, creating 2 parking spaces in what will remain of the driveway, and creating some additional screening in front of the fence, which is on the adjacent property. So with that, I think it should be a pretty simple application. Any questions? Oh, let me also present Ty Shaw. He's the president of the Vietnamese community.
My name is Ty Shaw. I'm the new Vietnamese community president. Thank you for taking our case. And this community has been very active. We have a lot of folks, and we want the mixed use, so that way we can operate, we can bring more support to the community. All the community also using our center as well. We have churches, and we're going to provide a lot of after-school program. And right now, we're very active with the senior group. So we're asking that you will grant it. We have been operating since 2007. We are very, very active in the community. So.
Very much. Are there questions from the commission members regarding the application?
Yes, I have a question about the parking spaces. So I'm looking at the site plan.
Yep.
And I'm not clear on where you mark for parking spaces. Are you talking about them being parked one behind the other or next to each other? The way the drawing is and the way the dimensioning are, I'm not sure that works.
Okay, the 38-foot dimension line
Right.
is enough to park end to end along the driveway. So that's essentially it, and then allow maneuvering space to, back out of the driveway. We're only required to have 2 spaces. I should probably mention that most of the folks served by this community center are within walking distance, and there's plenty of on-street parking for when they do have meetings or larger events.
So basically driving into the driveway, 1 car, 1 behind it.
Yep, much like most residential structures.
And the driveway's 12 feet wide, as I see here in the drawing then?
Correct, correct. We're throttling it down to meet the city guidelines.
So in the staff report, we have a note that says they need a waiver for this? They need a waiver for the parking?
So they need one for the dwelling unit, and then what's tough about the not-for-profit community center is it's by number of seats, but what we do is take the square footage, the total square footage of the community room, and we divide by 100, and what we get, I believe, is left over is 1 spot. So it would be 2 total. So
So is parking in a line?
I think that you're moving kind of over to the right a little bit. You're not like just parking one behind the other. You're moving over parallel to where you come in. It's just not delineated very well on the site plan of where the actual parking space is.
Yeah, there would be some flexibility. If somebody wanted to pull in, slide over to the right, you could have 2 side by side.
But that's what I was looking at. It looks like it's maybe 20 feet wide. It's the 12-foot driveway, and then the drawing seems to show that it widens out back of the lot.
That's correct.
So the one, if you look at this, if you scale it off, it's 12 for the driveway. It looks like maybe another 6 feet. I can't,
Yeah,
it's not scaled, it's not measured.
right, I apologize. We were missing a dimension there.
But that would give us 18 feet, which is a tight side-by-side. Well, no, it's not, 9.
Not really.
No, that would
Only
be,
9
actually, that would be
feet,
our.
so we
Okay.
only need 18 feet.
So that the question to staff would be, whether they're in a line or they're next to each other, do they still need the waiver? Based on the discussion we've just had, that there seems to be enough space.
They just have to be maneuverable and workable, so that one car could get out without blocking the other. So if they were
Side by side.
totally in front and behind
Right.
each other, then that would not be workable. There'd be one spot. So this is to my understanding, it's moved over to the right a little bit on this, so that the car in the front can maneuver around the one behind.
Correct.
And the drawing seems to show that there's maybe 19 to 20 feet across the back of the lot, so you could put two cars there. But it's not, so basically you have this dimension as 12, and then it widens like, I don't know, that's not
Right,
quite
so
there.
Craig, the width dimension,
Yep,
we had talked, you said that wasn't, because you need 8.5 for each.
right, and I can tell you that we would have more than, the 17,
So you could pull in 2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
So then we wouldn't need the waiver.
right.
Okay, we go down the, we have consensus about no need for a parking waiver? Yes?
What, you're looking for me? Oh, no, so, like I indicated, it's 1 for the community center and 1 for the dwelling unit.
So no waiver.
2 total, right.
I'm done, thank you.
Additional questions?
Short question.
Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
I just want to say real quick, thanks to my community, show up to support us, so thank
They
you.
might want to speak too, so I'm about to ask if there's anyone who would like to speak in favor of this application, please come forward, provide your name and address for the record, and then your comments.
My name is Quit Lee. I live at 5062 Constitution Lane in Liverpool, New York. But most of my activities are down in Syracuse, include church and community center. I often come to the community center, and actually even I'm a small person, I drive a big van. And my van can go in there to the parking lot, and then another person can also go in there. We go out easily, if that supports anything. But I think that our community is very important to us, so that not only we can expand on our culture, but we also bring, we want to be able to share that with other kids around the neighborhood too, not just Vietnamese. So, so we have a big event coming up that we open to that, to the community, not just Vietnamese.
Thank you very much. Other individuals who wish to speak in favor? Just provide your name and address, please, and then your comments.
My name is Jai Swedi, and my address is 314 Wheaton Road on the Sedgwick area. But I'm the chairman of Bhutanese community in Syracuse, and also chairman of New American Forum, which is a leader in the community of 9 different countries from the world. And the Vietnamese community has become our center place to have a meeting and the community to gather. We share a lot of things, and we work very closely with each other to support each other communities. So this is really a center place for us to execute a lot of our community events and support the community folks that daily needed services. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Other individuals who wish to speak in favor, please come forward. Just provide your name and address at the podium before you offer your comments.
My name is Lou Vinciguerra. I'm their neighbor at 1022. Happened to be the one that you're saying you want to, there's a fence where they want to block or something. It's not needed. There's a stockade fence there already. These neighbors are the best neighbors you could possibly have. They reach out to the entire community. They've been doing it for years. I've been there we bought an abandoned crack house about 10 years ago and moved there, and you can't beat them as neighbors. So whatever you can do to get them there and make them solid, please do it for the neighborhood. And there's plenty of parking there. When they're talking, I live there. 2 cars fit there without a doubt. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Other individuals who wish to speak in favor of this application, please come forward. See no other speakers in favor. Are there individuals who wish to speak in opposition to the application?
Can I ask the Vietnamese community, see if they can, because they don't speak English very well, let me ask them, see if they're willing to come say something.
No, shy.
I think they say enough, so I hope you guys see that and understand what the great role we have. We have the Blessing Box painting this Sunday with the Operation Northern Comfort. We paint 10 blessing boxes. The Vineyard Church also hosts a small group there. The New American Forum, I'm the VP for that. We have meeting there, often as well, because we are the only center, Vietnamese community that have a center. So I'm asking you, for the good grace of the North Side, we embrace and everybody else who just grant us that wish.
Thank you. Let me just repeat one more time. If there is anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to this application, please come forward to do so now. There doesn't seem to be anyone in that category.
Can I just clarify one thing with the architect? So, Craig, if you could just clarify the total width of that parking area. What Chris was asking is the waiver necessary for the parking space width? So 8.5 plus 8.5. I just want to make sure, because I know we had talked about that. Yes, it's 18 feet wide. Okay, so no, it's not necessary. Thank you.
Okay, so we're clarified with the parking. Okay, so we will declare the hearing closed. One additional change in our procedure tonight versus other nights is we will try to act upon hearings as we hear them, rather than waiting till the end of the meeting, again, so as not to keep everyone captive all night, given this long agenda. So with the hearing closed, in the case of this particular application, is there a motion for action on this application one way or the other?
Move approval of the negative declaration.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The project is approved. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much. You make our community very happy, so thank you. Thank you, Heather.
Next,
So the next public hearing is R1857. This is number 6 if you are looking at an agenda. This is to realign 2 properties into 2 new lots at 100 Madison Street and 235 Harrison Street. The City of Syracuse and Towers Realty LR Limited are the owners and applicants, and both properties lie within a central business district, office, and service district.
thank you. If the applicant is here.
How are you? Good evening. My name is Matt Kerwin. I'm with Barclay Damon here on behalf of this application. So what you had before you was a pretty basic request. The Axis Towers block, it's currently comprised of 2 parcels, split right across the middle. The northern half is the AXA towers themselves. The southern half is the tech garden and surrounding area. What we're proposing is essentially a redrawing of the lot line such that the proposed lot 1 would be the AXA towers envelope itself, with the surrounding property being lot 2. Access would not be restricted at all. As part of the project, the city would ultimately convey lot 2 to the local development corporation. AXA would retain ownership of lot 1. No changes otherwise would occur.
Okay, thank you. Questions for the applicant? Thank you very much, sir. Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come to the podium. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come forward. We have no additional speakers. We'll declare the hearing closed. And I will also ask if there is a motion for action on this application either way.
To approve of the negative declaration.
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. It's approved as well for the re-subdivision. Our next application?
Next public hearing is R1852. This is number 7 on the agenda. It is a re-subdivision to combine 4 properties into 1 new lot at 407 to 409, 411, 413, and 415 to 417 Hawley Avenue. V.C. Rolling is the owner and the applicant, and the properties all lie within a residential Class B zoning district.
Thank you. Is the applicant here? Or their representative? Were we expecting the applicant?
Well, I can say we did make a concerted effort to send out notices with the 5 o'clock change, so perhaps maybe they did not look closely, so maybe you can hold this until the end of the meeting.
Right, so Madam Legal Counsel, no complication with that, leaving the hearing open?
Certainly, regarding the fact that our custom is 6 o'clock, I think it is more than acceptable to keep it open until at least 6 o'clock.
Great, we will do just that then, and perhaps they'll be arriving later. That will allow us to move to our next application.
Okay, the next public hearing, number 8 on the agenda, is R1853. This is also a re-subdivision. This is to combine 3 properties into 1 new lot at 2083 Rear and 2107 Park Street. KMG Properties LLC is the owner. ESW Realty LLC is the applicant, and all of these properties lie within an industrial Class A zoning district.
Thank you. If the applicant is here, would you please come forward? We might have the same situation again, so we will leave the hearing open and hope that the applicant appears later on this evening. So moving right along, Heather, you're...
Sit down for this one.
Please.
The next public hearing is number 9 on your agenda. This is R1855. This is a re-subdivision to combine 3 properties into 1 new lot at 482, 484 to 498. So, okay. Oh, let me just finish announcing this for a second. 484 to 498 South Salina Street and 130 to 144 West Onondaga Street. Syracuse Urban Partnership Incorporated is the owner and applicant, and these properties all lie within a central business district, retail zoning district.
Thank you, Commissioner, and others for having me this evening. My name is Meg O'Connell. I'm with the Allen Family Foundation, which formed the entity called the Syracuse Urban Partnership to purchase the 1.6-acre lot of which this merging of the parcels we're requesting. It's the lot then that is on the corner of Salina, West Onondaga, and Clinton Ave. It was formerly owned by Molly 2. It is 3 different parcels, and we are asking that you consider merging all the parcels into one lot for the purposes of the development of that lot.
straightforward.
Yeah. And then I'll be back, in a few months with some site plans and designs for the
Right.
lot, but
More is going to happen there.
Yeah.
Let's just pause a quick moment here, see if there are questions from the commission members. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Very concise. Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the application? If so, please come to the podium. We have no additional speakers, so we'll declare the hearing closed, and I'll ask for a motion on this re-subdivision application.
Move approval with a negative declaration.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. The re-subdivision is approved. Thank you very much. Our next,
Okay, the next public hearing is number
Hearing?
12 on the agenda. It's SP 1825. This is a special permit for a restaurant at 727 South Krause Avenue. Syracuse 727 LLC is the owner, and NYVA Syracuse LLC is the applicant, and the property lies within a business class A zoning district. If you recall, the commission had previously approved this has been through a couple iterations, a project site review, sign waiver, special permit for a restaurant, Blaze Pizza on the corner. The applicant is now requesting to establish an additional restaurant on the property.
okay, thank you. And the applicant is here already.
Good evening, James Trasher, 300 South State Street, engineer for the owner and applicant. We are here for a special permit for Halal Guys, which is looking to locate at 727 South Krause Ave, better known as the Marshall mixed-use student housing project that was constructed off of South Krause. Blaze Pizza was previously approved for a special permit for a tenant space at the corner, tenant space A. We're looking for a special permit for Halal Guys in tenant space B, this location. We've provided the zoning administrator's office with all the required information, signage, floor plans, layouts. So we're here just requesting your approval for this application.
Thank you. And the application entails a few waivers, I think, correct?
If it does, I didn't receive anything from Mr. Harrop's office on this, so I can go through those if he has them. I would love to go through them.
So parking, is
Parking.
obviously one of them.
This is one where we had 0 parking spaces and we have off-site agreements for the parking. So tenant is aware of that. This is mainly to serve university patrons and folks above in the Marshall Street area. So that is that one. Number 2, driveway shall be located not less than 10 feet from the property lines. The site plan shows the driveway adjacent to the south property line. You previously approved that as part of the project. We're not changing anything as it relates to the plan. Uses are allowed 1 wall sign and 1 ground sign, neither to exceed 40 square feet. The applicant is proposing to install a 2.5 foot double-sided projecting wall sign from the proposed restaurant. This is just due to the alleyway effect of where the Marshall is located. Blaze is on the corner. They're the first tenant in, so they just want to have visibility as you're walking down South Krause that you can see, similar to what was previously done when it was the previous campus plaza where you had Hungry Charlie's and those things back in there. So we would request that waiver. The deviates. Is there one more here for street trees? I can't.
Landscape treatment.
Landscape treatment. So once again, we're not changing anything with the work within the right-of-way or on site. So this was previously granted as part of the initial approval, so we would request that you grant that waiver again. And we'll probably be back for a couple more of these because it seems on this site restaurants are a popular tenant, so we may be coming back for a couple more in the near future.
Thank you for addressing those waivers. Questions for the applicant?
Yes, I detected that you were also asking for a projecting sign in addition to the wall sign.
Correct. So a projection sign, so we have one sign on the front and then a small projection sign. So as you're standing at the intersection of South Krause, so you can see it looking down. So it wouldn't impede anything. It's just so you can see it from South Krause Ave.
So I have a question for staff. So in the chart, it says, so Blaze Pizza has two 25 square foot signs? Okay. So the proposal tonight is for
A 40 square foot wall sign and a projecting sign.
So the wall sign is almost twice what the other tenant has in one sign, plus the projecting sign. In light of what you said about the alley and the remaining tenant spaces, is it likely that you're going to be looking for projecting signs for all of those tenancies as well?
I don't believe so. It's really tenant by tenant comes and asks the questions for that. So this is the proposed projection sign, round, sticking out slightly, right off next to the door, and then the main sign for the building would be sort of what we've shown previously, and just taking where we used to call it tenant B and replacing it with the halal guys in those areas. So I can't speak for the other folks and the things that I've seen. We haven't seen anything else. These guys requested it, and we put it in as a request as part of this application.
Oh, okay, thank you. And staff, in terms of looking at the project way back and when considering all the tenancies, there was a general approval of basically the 25 square foot signs for each of the 6 tenant spaces.
Yes.
So that there'd be a uniform approach. There's a plan.
Yep, that was reviewed by me, and I approved those to be so that they were consistent.
Okay, so this would obviously be inconsistent with that approach. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come to the podium. Anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the application, please come forward. Okay, we'll declare the hearing closed.
Can I just have, before you close, one question? So back to the sign questions that you had for Heather. Your question is, you want a 25, was the question to her, a 25 square foot sign above?
Well, that's what was approved for the whole project.
Correct.
So this particular request is inconsistent with what we thought of for the whole project.
Okay, you know, if that's something that is of concern, you know, and it would cause a delay in a decision on this, we could look at 25 square feet for the main entrance sign.
For the wall sign?
Yeah, to keep consistent, and then we would still request a projection sign so we can keep that consistency, and we'll go back to the other tenants as they are coming in requesting that square footage.
Well, just in thinking ahead.
Yep. We like consistency on the building.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if the future tenants say, well, these guys got a projecting sign, we want one. So if we were inclined to approve that, then I think it would be clear that this is what would be setting the standard for that. Okay. So that coming in with something larger or smaller probably would not be inappropriate for a future application.
Okay, that's fine. That's it.
All right. I think our questions are addressed at the moment. We'll see if there are other individuals who want to comment on this. Are there individuals who wish to speak in favor of this application? If so, come forward, please. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come forward. So there are no additional speakers. We will declare the hearing closed, and we'll see if there is a motion for action on this application.
I would move to approve the application granting the waivers for the parking, the driveway, and the landscape treatment, and the parking for the projecting sign, but not the 40-foot square wall sign that should meet the previously approved signage plan. Did I say negative declaration? Okay.
You did now.
Okay, I'm done.
Second.
Is there discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? And the special permit is approved. And we move on to our next special permit application.
Next public hearing is number 13 on your agenda. It's SP 1824. This is a special permit for indoor amusement and recreation. This is for indoor archery and axe and knife throwing ranges at 610 Marcellus, which is also known as 1003 West Fayette Street. Concetto Lampuri is the owner and Sophie McDonald is the applicant. And this property lies within an industrial Class A zoning district.
I am Ben MacDonald, speaking on behalf of Sophie MacDonald, the applicant. I am the owner of Farshot Recreation and the head coach of the World Axe Throwing League, and I understand that there were a few concerns. Questions about the fire safety?
Perhaps you could just start with an overview of the project and what that entails in a brief kind of summary fashion.
So we are offering recreational activities of axe throwing, knife throwing, and indoor archery. We will have one coach for every 2 targets to help facilitate safety within our unit. We're also looking to build fences to help with safety as well. And for our archery range, we're looking at shooting at no more than 30 feet or 10 yards. We are looking to have a small kitchenette area, which will be including just a sink and a counter space for cleaning up of any dishes or anything else might need washing.
It doesn't look like there are any waivers required with this application. Are there questions for the applicant?
Just, are you eventually going to have some signage or no signage?
Signage is only on our door, is what we're looking for.
What are your hours of operations going to be?
I would be in the evenings throughout the weekdays, and so after 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, and from 10 until 11 o'clock on weekends, closing at 11 o'clock on weekdays as well.
I know nothing about these sports. So do people come with their own equipment?
They are able to, yes, although we will have some on our end as well. The ones who will be bringing their own axes or knives or bows are more serious competitors, whereas what we'll be providing is more for people on their first events or when they're still learning how to participate in these new sports.
What are your anticipated ages of patrons?
We're expecting between 20 to 60, with around 40 to 60 being our target market.
Do you operate a similar facility now?
Yes, we have one in Canada at the moment, up in Orangeville, Ontario. We did win the World Championships last year for axe throwing, and we're bringing that same model here to Syracuse.
Thank you.
Additional questions?
Just one question for staff. All right, there is an ongoing business there that's not related to them. There was a comment about parking.
Well, as we receive the floor plans for any project, we look at the overall uses within the building, and we did notice that there is another indoor amusement and recreation establishment there that we don't have any record of a special permit for that. So the CrossFit is, I think, what you're referring to.
Right.
So we have no information on that. So we did delineate the parking that would be required, but you can't necessarily waive that at this time because it's
Technically, they're not there.
presented or not, right, they're not
Okay.
legally there.
So right now, there are no waivers or issues for this group,
This applicant.
this applicant.
This applicant, right, no.
Hold on. Let's look. No.
Okay, thank you. No other questions, thank you.
Thank you both very much. Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward. Are there individuals who want to speak in opposition to the application? If so, please come to the podium and offer your comments. We don't appear to have any additional speakers, so we'll declare this hearing closed and see if there is a motion for action on this application.
I move approval with a negative declaration.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The special permit is approved.
Before we go to the next application, I just have a question. So is the property owner or the CrossFit business owner or both being told that they're not in compliance? They don't have a special permit, so would we told them they need to come and get one retroactively, or we don't do that?
So we can inform code enforcement that we have uncovered this activity that was not given permission, and they can issue a citation and inform the applicant.
That would be good. Thank you.
Okay, the next public hearing is PR 1837. This is a project site review for facade alterations, and as a result of the use proposed, they need a parking waiver, and the commission has the authority to grant that waiver under this review. It's 1720 to 1722 Erie Boulevard East. Fady Cassed, 1720 Erie Boulevard East LLC is the owner and applicant, and the property lies within an industrial Class A zoning district.
Thank you. Good
Sir,
evening.
David Tucker, I'm an architect, 19 South Street, Marcellus, New York, and the owners retained me to try to turn a partial change of occupancy. The existing, it's about 7,000 square feet total, and 2,400 of it will be mercantile. The back part will have the axe throwing. No, just kidding. Just kidding. No, it will be the same occupancy as before, the S2 storage. It was built, I believe, in '51 as a truck storage area, and it had a special use permit from 1982, which the owner wrote and had it canceled. So I've been going to work with DOT. He had some comments about working in the right-of-way. I worked with him on aligning the curb cut. I had, for 2,400 square feet, and it's 300 square feet per car, that comes out to 8 cars, and that's what I have, which includes a handicap spot. So I don't remember asking for a waiver. So he also wanted me to put bollards up, which we will do. We know that the building is a little bit, a couple inches into the right-of-way. It was built in 1951. I don't think they were as careful back then. So we know that we need to get special permits to work in there. And if we do realign the curb cuts, I've done this before, we're gonna have to follow DOT specs and get, yeah. So
just to get clarification, in terms of the parking requirements, we indicate there's agreement apparently that 8 spaces are needed, and how many do the plans show that we have on record? 5, or?
I had 9, but DOT took one away from me, so it makes it just 8.
Is that consistent with what we have on the file, in the file?
This was my last, I resubmitted it because I forgot the handicap space, so I resubmitted it to Lisa Welch about a month ago, I believe.
Yeah, this doesn't have the, this has,
When you talk about DOT, you're talking about New York State DOT? Because
Yes.
it's Route 5?
Yep.
Thank you.
He had a few snarky comments, which I kind of grinned at.
Do we have those comments in our file, that what the state DOT wants out of the site plan? I just.
Yes, it was mailed to me from Lisa. So.
Just that.
The issue with this is that there's a shed blocking 789.
The shed is gone. There's
Okay.
no shed there.
But this plan shows a shed. So we can only go by what is illustrated and what is submitted.
Understood. But I think it's hatched, which means graphically that it's not there, I think.
No, it doesn't look hatched. Where's parking space number 1?
Parking space number 1 is on the west side, which the
Top
DOT
left.
wants me to eliminate.
Oh, okay.
And put bollards up, or planters.
I don't see those state DOT comments. Do you all have them? Are they not? Am I like, I'm zipping through here, but, thank you, my friend. Got him now.
So, did you check with the permit department just to confirm, because I'm not an expert on this, but I believe the handicap spot, the loading spot has to be equal to the an actual parking spot. So you have 5 feet here. I think it has to be 8.5.
I'll check on that. I have to resubmit anyway.
Okay.
It shows the curb cut, the bollards, the notes,
Yeah.
you know, on his, commenting on his comment.
Right, because you have to make sure that this is actually maneuverable.
Sure.
And you're not, and the handicap spot is where it needs to be.
Sure.
Et cetera. But yeah, the shed needs to be removed because it looks
Will
like
do.
you're bulldozing it down with 3 parking spaces. So, I guess the bottom line for the commission would be if they do provide safely, adequately, and maneuverably 8 spots, then that waiver would not be
Waiver.
necessary.
Okay, questions? Additional questions beyond parking?
I have a couple based on now that I'm seeing this, which I will share momentarily with my colleagues. So I see the city transportation planner has also offered some comments. They perhaps are in concert with the state DOT. Certainly the one about the western driveway being blocked with a physical barrier, such as bollard. But it also says that the eastern parking area requires a physical buffer between the parking area and the right-of-way and sidewalk area, which could be accomplished with vegetation or, again, bollards or what have you. I don't see that on your drawings, so are you going to be providing that?
We'll comply with that.
Okay. It also says that you can't have asphalt in the right-of-way, so I assume that's going to be taken care of as well.
Yes.
Okay.
That'll be in, all that'll be in the resubmittal to zoning.
It also noted that the state DOT is going to be doing sidewalks in front of the building, and you're
Yes.
aware of that?
Yeah, I'm going to coordinate with the engineer.
Additional questions? Chance to digest those questions, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, I think we are good for the moment.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come forward. There are no additional speakers. We'll declare the hearing closed and see if there's a motion for action on the application.
I move to approve with a negative declaration as long as the city and the state transportation planners' comments and conditions are met.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The project site review is approved. To the last in this series of public hearings. Heather?
3S 1827, 3 Mile Limit Subdivision Review in the town of Clay. This is to realign 2 properties into 2 new lots at 5232 and 5248 Witts Road. Oneida Financial Corp. is the owner and applicant.
Thank you. If the applicant is here, please come forward. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come to the podium. Anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the application, please come forward. No speakers of any kind, and as often the case with our 3 mile limit cases, that's the situation. The application is complete, I understand. Is that correct? Yep. In that case, then we'll declare the hearing closed and act on the information that we have on hand. Is there a motion on this 3 mile limits re-subdivision?
Move approval with a negative declaration.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The 3 mile limit case is approved. Pause for just one moment, and I'll ask if there are individuals associated with the re-subdivision on Hawley Ave available. R-18-52. It's item number 7 on the agenda in the back of the room. The applicant or representative for that project available? Okay, we'll continue to hold that. Is anyone available regarding the re-subdivision on Park Street, R-18-53, which would be number 8 on the agenda?
Oh. You were here.
Yeah, you just skipped
must have
over
been
me.
sleeping.
No, I was outside talking on the phone. Just
Okay.
So. Good
All right,
evening.
so hold on, just let me announce that one more time. So our 1853, a re-subdivision to combine 3 properties into 1 new lot, 2083, 2083 Rear, and 2107 Park Street. KMG Properties LLC is the owner, and ESW Realty LLC is the applicant, and properties lie within an industrial Class A zoning district.
So I show you the proposed site plan here, so you understand why we have this application. This is,
Sorry, just because it is a new hearing, can you state your name again for the record?
yeah, James, I did that before Heather interrupted me again. James Trasher, 300 South State Street, CHA Consulting. We are the representative for the applicant. I show you the proposed site plan right now based on comments we are receiving, most likely it could be an administrative approval. So typically when you see a resub of multiple lots into one, you want to know what's going on. So we're proposing a Dunkin' Donuts with 2 retail spaces at the intersection of the 81 ramp and Park Street. Currently it's a bunch of different uses on site. We're going to consolidate it down into 3 tenant spaces with associated driveway and parking and circulation. So we're looking for resub of lots because we cannot build across the property line. So that is what we are here for. The new lot will be 1.246 acres plus or minus, and that is what we are here for. So this isn't in front of you, but I just wanted you to realize what we were doing as part of the application. And we met with planning, zoning, engineering, DPW, and folks to review their comments on that. And her office should be able to complete that approval upon the resub.
Thank you. Questions regarding the re-subdivision? Okay, thank you very much. Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come forward. We have no further speakers. We'll declare the hearing closed and see if there is a motion for action on this item.
Move approval with a negative declaration.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The re-subdivision is approved. We will continue to hold the other re-subdivision hearing, R-18-52. We'll call for that later this evening. We've moved through the first batch of hearings that we had hoped to cover, and now we'll return to the top of the agenda. And would you please announce application number 1, Heather?
Sure. Next hearing is PS 1802. This is a protected site designation. This is 1007 Madison Street. GP 44 LLC is the owner, and the Syracuse Landmark Preservation Board is the petitioner, and the property lies within a residential Class B zoning district.
Thank you. The applicant is here, I see.
Evening. Good evening. My name is Kate Auwetter. I am here representing the Landmark Preservation Board this evening. I'm the preservation planner for the city. My address, Suite 512, City Hall Commons. The Landmark Preservation Board is petitioning the Planning Commission to approve and recommend to the Common Council that the property at 1007 Madison Street, also known as the Walker House, to be designated a local protected site. The house was constructed in 1911 for a local attorney, Herbert Walker, who lived in the house until the early 1940s. The Walker House was designed by renowned local architect Wellington Ward. Ward was one of Central New York's most important and prolific architects of the early 20th century. Ward himself included this house as an example of his Tudor revival style in a self-published work in the 1920s. The owner informed the LPB that they were proposing to demolish the property, which is listed in the city's historic properties list as eligible for the National Register and eligible to be locally designated. In accordance with Part C, Section 7, Article 8 of the zoning ordinance, the owner petitioned a review by the LPB to determine whether the property should be considered a local protected site. And the LPB held a public hearing on August 16th, 2018 in regard to the local designation. In its review of the Walker House, the board determined that the house retains its integrity of location, design, setting, materials, workmanship, feeling, and association. The Walker House is located at the corner of Walnut and Madison Street, which remains an impressive setting that features the Walker House, Madison School, and the Sherbrooke Apartments, each anchoring its own respective corner. The integrity of the design of the structure also remains largely intact. The most significant exterior alteration, the enclosure of the side porch and terrace, was completed with sensitivity to the original design and was completed within the first 20 years of the life of the property. The residence retains sufficient integrity of workmanship and continues to read clearly as a work of Ward Wellington Ward. And finally, the property retains the feeling and association of a historic Ward-designed house constructed as part of the early 20th century development of the city's east side. The Landmark Preservation Board recommended unanimously that the property should be designated a local protected site, and that the designation should apply to the exterior as well as portions of the interior, specifically the original living room, which features an inglenook fireplace with some original light fixtures and sort of wood beam ceilings. The board also received 10 letters of support for the designation, including letters from the Preservation Association of Central New York, the Arts and Crafts Society of Central New York, as well as Cleota Reed, who wrote the book, basically, on Ward Wellington Ward. And you should have copies of those letters in front of you.
We do. Thank you very much. Questions for the applicant? Thank you very much. Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come to the podium. Provide your name and address and your comments.
Hi, everyone. Chris Geiger, 120 Ocean Avenue, Amityville, New York. Yes, that Amityville. I'm the owner of 519 Walnut, aka 1007 Madison. We've been working on this project for about a year now, and originally, you know, in working with the city, we tried to redevelop this site along with the site next door to it. It's a complicated issue because it's an old building. Obviously, it's almost 100 years old, and I have a little bit of experience in restoring historic buildings. We're working on one at 900 Fayette Street, East Fayette Street. I support it. Even if it wasn't protected, I would do something in scale with the neighborhood. Obviously, we're very familiar with what's going on in the land use plan as it pertains to this urban neighborhood section. So I support it unequivocally. I just will say that with a caveat, it's an old building. The city, not my doing, I never applied for any kind of you know, building permit to cut this thing up, but it's been cut up pretty good. So just want to keep everybody in mind as we move down this road of, you know, eventually applying for a re-subdivision, that the costs that are associated with restoring this building to, you know, what the exterior was intended to look like, you know, by Mr. Ward, that I ask for a little bit of leeway when we get to that re-subdivision and site plan review application. I know it's completely separate and it's different from this protected site application, but that's all I want to say. Just please take that into account when you see us in a couple of months. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Other individuals who may wish to speak in favor of this application, please come forward. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the application? If so, please come forward. We don't have any additional speakers, so we'll declare this hearing closed and see if there is a motion for action on the application.
Move to approve. And do I need a negative declaration? Is seeker applicable to this action?
I don't believe so, but it is always safe to give that negative
So
declaration.
I'll say with a negative declaration if it's necessary. If not, we can edit that out. But so moved then.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? So the designation is approved. We're going to deviate again, and which one?
4 and 5 are
Yes, and move to 4 and 5.
I
And-
would, just to give a little bit of background, I know that the applicant for number 2 is here. I know that they are still working with the Preservation Board on the project, so I don't think it's going to be a full-blown presentation, but just giving you that by way of background. I believe the applicant knows that they are not ready, and the commission wouldn't be ready to make a decision tonight if you wanted to take number 2, but it's your prerogative. I'm just giving you that information.
What's the consensus? Okay. Consensus is 4 and 5, and Madam Legal Counsel, my understanding is we could hear these concurrently.
Yes, and act separately.
Okay, I think that might help expedite a little bit. So with that, Heather, would you please announce both 4 and 5?
Okay, R 1846, this is number 4 on your agenda, is a re-subdivision to divide one property into 2 new lots at 312 Fillmore Avenue. Loretto Housing Development Fund Company Incorporated is the owner and the applicant. It is lies within a planned institutional district, and Z2805 is a project plan review for exterior and site alterations at 312 Fillmore Avenue. Loretto Housing Development Fund Company Incorporated is the owner and the applicant, and also within a planned institutional district. We have received revised plans that I believe the applicants have made in an effort to mitigate some of the adverse effects that were not only presented by the public, but also issues that the different departments had, as well as the commission at the last meeting in November.
Thank you. Back.
Thank you. Good evening. Bruce King, Holmes King Colquist and Associates Architects, 575 North Salina Street. I won't go back through the building plan drawings unless you have questions, but I will kind of quickly review some of the things we talked about last time. The Pius building was built in 1955. It is here, kind of attached to the Heritage Building. We'll be separating the two again, re-subdividing the property because of New York State Housing and Community Renewal requirements to have it on its own lot. In the process of this renovation, we'll reduce the intensity of use in the building. Original use was 41 units and 2 commercial kitchens. It will go down to 35 units and no commercial kitchens. In the process, the parking count gets reduced. I'll let Sarah review that with you. Work on the building is basically completely gut and renovate the interior with all new systems. However, the exterior will be minimal alterations, repairs to the masonry, new windows, and a new entry independent of the building it's attached to. So it'll have its own entry and its own identity. I think most of the questions from our previous presentation were related to site, so I'll answer any questions you have on the building, but I'll turn it over to Sarah if there aren't any.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Hogan. I'm from EDR. I'm the project manager for the site civil end of this project. So as Bruce mentioned, we're here tonight requesting subdivision approval for this parcel. Given the HCR requirements, we're looking to subdivide the Pius parcel from the parent parcel. You will notice on our subdivision plan that water easements and sanitary easements have been coordinated with the city to date. And in terms of site plan, So with regards to site plan access, as we were here last month, we heard there are three major concerns from the residents, including the slope disturbance in relation to our sanitary design. We also heard about some capacity issues down East Glen with the sewer and stormwater runoff and snow storage. In looking at our site plan, some of the mitigation efforts that we looked at was revising the sanitary design. So we are no longer going to come out the back of the building, across and down the slope for connection into East Glen. Our new sanitary alignment is going to come out of the building approximately where it comes out today. It's going to be a force main, and it's going to go around the Heritage and connect over into Fillmore, and then gravity from Fillmore down. So we worked with the city engineering in a follow-up meeting. That was a preferred alternative for our sanitary design. So given this revised design and connection, we believe, in working with the city, that it alleviates some of the concerns that the residents have for the sewer capacity issues in East Glen. The connection from Fillmore down, I believe it's on Salina Street, is downstream of some of the capacity issues that they are having, is what we're being told at this time. So our overall, our sanitary demand load, we've looked at for the proposed units, and given the difference between today, 2018, and when fixtures were installed, 1955, we're reducing the load by approximately 30 to 35%. In regards to stormwater runoff and snow storage, we heard that was another concern the residents had. So we took our site plan, we went back, and we looked at ways that we could improve this. And that included, obviously, limiting or reducing the amount of impervious area. We did that by several methods. One was reducing the amount of hardscape and walks around the site. We reduced the site's parking layout to be one-way circulation internally, so that reduced the overall width of the parking. We also took this area up here, and even though it's shaded gray, this is a permeable paver. This access is really just a secondary access needed for fire trucks. So the permeable paver is something that they can plow and maintain access during the winter, but also allow for infiltration. Another element that we looked at was taking our internal paving area and turning that into an infiltration / bioswale in efforts to capture runoff here, and halfway down the parking lot it will inlet into a structure and then come out in the stormwater management area for detention. We did remove the land-based parking, as we had seen in previous projects that it's never fully built out. And overall, we reduced our impervious area by over 50% from the last time we were here. So our total increase in impervious area for this project is just under 5,000 square feet. So I think that captures just about everything on our list of concerns that we heard from the residents. Correct.
Just to be sure that's clear, so it's continuing.
And just say, one of you say that into the microphone.
The sewer flows today go to Fillmore Avenue.
Yeah, just have that.
I have a question about this illustrative plan and then the grading plan in our packet. It shows 2 stormwater management areas.
Right. So the time that this rendering was done was we've been feverishly working to try and get our plans in. I think there was just a little delay.
So we should go by the grading plan.
By the grading plan. Yep.
And I also see that in light of the new lot that you want to that's being requested, that some of the grading is actually going to be out of the parcel?
Right. And we're doing that to try and capture the runoff. We've sized it to capture some of the stormwater runoff from the Fahey parcel. That's what's going there today. So it's tricky in that HCR would like to fund improvements just for your project, being that we're a campus and there's additional parcels around us that are all related from the overall stormwater. Our thought is to try and size that accordingly to account for both parcels.
And then also, the retaining wall that's here, is this a proposed retaining wall?
Are you talking about this neat little structure here?
Yes.
That's existing to date.
Okay. It looks existing on the drawing, but I wasn't quite sure given the way your grading was. Okay. Thank you. I'm good if you guys are.
No, I'm going to reserve. I'd like you to.
Thank you both very much. Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward.
Kathy Stribley, 316 Monticello Drive North. Excuse me. I just want to note that my comments are based on the drawings submitted November 30th with a transmittal letter from EDR and not the plans that were posted on the planning website. The public was not able to see these plans unless they got them from me, and I went down and got them from the office. And I think that, I just make a comment that people in the area of Fillmore might have been more interested in being down here if those drawings had been accurate. And I hope it didn't confuse anybody. I am supportive of the new solution that removes the threat of the sanitary sewer to East Glen Avenue with the disruption that would have occurred in that area. I think I have some letters I should pass out first before I get into this. So I'm supportive of the connection to Fillmore Avenue where the sanitary sewage from the structure is currently rooted. And I hope that the disruption to Fillmore Avenue and surrounding residents can be minimized in the construction of the new line, because there will be disruption of the north part of the site, but not the very difficult disruption that would have occurred to people, environment, and my neighbors on East Glen Avenue. I would just note that that area on the north side connection to Fillmore is an important connection from the valley to Brighton Avenue, so that is a fact. I heard the comment that they're going to reduce the sanitary sewer load by 35%. And I don't know what the previous building was. I heard 2 commercial kitchens. These units will all have their own kitchens and their own bathrooms. And there could be, as I understand it, couples in these units. In the priest home, it was single people, obviously. So I don't know if the population load is going to be reduced or could be the same as the previous projects. I would just make that comment. I think a thorough analysis needs to be done to make sure that the Fillmore combined sewer is not overloaded, as that was also just built for a small number of residences. So I comment that a grinder and degreaser may be necessary, as with the Cunningham building, because if the people are unsupervised, that's where we happen to get a lot of things coming down the sanitary sewage that didn't belong there, like bed pads and all kinds of other things like that. So I think that's a later phase, but I think that needs to be dealt with. I'm supportive of the less pervious pavement and the removal of the land bank parking and surfaces, but I have remaining concerns about the stormwater system. The detention facilities are concentrated over fractured limestone, and I just make a comment in my blown up area. I show the 2 detention basins and the existing grade, and they're going to be cutting in quite significantly to that landscape in order to get the landscape away from the building and the drainage in there. And I'm submitting the borings from the Fahey building, built in 1989-90, and the borings show that bedrock was around 4 feet in that north end of that building. Unless there are borings done, we don't know where those cuts will end up. And if the base of those basins is right on the fractured bedrock, as I've talked about before, the water will just go down to the valley. There's no detention at all. It just goes straight through. So I'm asking for borings, but if these basins are constructed the way they are, there should be a liner introduced to limit the rapid release of that water. And that's been a constant problem on the Loretto Plateau. Everything they've built since the Fahey and Fahey building and the new parking lot, they've been doing a lot of recharging, detention, and a lot of that probably is just coming down to the valley. So it needs to be slowed down. That's basically my comment. So with that in mind, I appreciate the changes. I want to make a comment. If they're going to be reducing rock or removing rock, it's a noisy process, and they would have to try to do that in the least impact-producing manner, because we feel and hear all that noise from the Loretto Plateau. It comes right through the bedrock, right down to the foundations of our houses. In fact, one of the neighbors here is right, the foundation of her house is on the rock, and she will feel every single thing that happens up there. So that was my comments.
Thank you very much. Are there additional individuals who wish to speak in favor of this application? Please come forward and provide your name and address and your comments.
Anita Stearns, 411 East Glen Ave, right at the corner of the original proposals. Heart of the matter, I can't remember what lot number it is, but you'll know. I'm very relieved that this is now going over to Fillmore, but I almost had a heart attack as I checked the Syracuse City online website daily to make sure I understood exactly what will be presented under this December 10th meeting under R 1846. Every day I checked, including at 4:20 p.m. this afternoon. The old drawings were in there. If they were still there, I would be like I'd have a heart attack, because the only reason I even know that this has changed and I could a little bit be calm is because Stribley went physically to this building, got all these things copied or scanned, and then called, because I was so upset I couldn't find any differences. So I think this should be addressed. I don't know if people in Fillmore have been notified, as I have with this kind of card, within a certain timeline, but I certainly couldn't find any updates And thankfully, she did, but that doesn't mean we all have access to that. I could never come to City Hall myself. I work full-time, so I could never make it here. I wouldn't even know that I would have to do that to understand that change would have been made. So that's upsetting to me. And if people in Fillmore should be, you know, informed that are within the 400 feet of the new egress or the new, you know what I mean? The new pipelines, then they should probably be informed before you vote. It's just my opinion, because it was not known to me. But I do agree with it now as it stands. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Other individuals who may wish to speak in favor of this application, please come forward.
My name is John Camerata. I live at 416 East Glen Avenue. My property is contiguous with the property of Loretto at the southern campus, and I support the new plan. It's a vast improvement. It's too bad it wasn't presented initially in November 19th. Many of these problems could be eliminated by Loretto undertaking a long-term mitigation plan to address all these issues, but it's never transpired. But I want to thank the members of the commission for their insightfulness and their questions, which actually precipitated the process which enabled the city to take a harder look at the situation. So I thank you very much.
Thank you. Other individuals who may wish to speak in favor of the application? If there are any additional individuals, please come forward in favor. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the application? Please come to the podium to offer your comments. I think all those who wish to speak on this application have done so, and we will declare the hearing closed.
Before you do that, does she get to respond to anything? And I have a question.
Yeah, I should, I usually ask if the applicant wants to return to respond to comments made in opposition, although everyone seemed to come to the podium when I asked in favor. Nevertheless, there were still some additional comments that you may wish to address, so here's the opportunity to do that if you would like to do so.
So just in response to Ms. Stribley's comments and the second resident, our plans were submitted. I don't know where that happened on the administrative end, but we did work feverishly to try and get these plans revised, and an additional meeting with the city engineering and staff to address some of these concerns. With regards to population load and the sewer load, we're looking at it from a design standard manual that we must comply with, both New York State DEC and the, hang on, I don't have my cheat sheet. But in the end, the design manual load, or the design manual that we're utilizing, our proposed units today have to comply with about 110 gallons per day for an apartment unit, or an apartment, one bedroom. The existing units had to comply with 150 gallons per day. So that's the difference in the gallons per day.
So the standard's been changed?
Correct. So there was a lot higher standard back pre-1980. And today, you know, with our low flow fixtures and efficiency, that's where our sanitary design load is coming from. Let's see. We are proposing grinder pumps to help with any concerns. That's just a standard design practice for force mains, sanitary force main, given that the system is pressurized. To have the grinder pumps grind everything down, it makes the transition easier. I think the other thing that we should know is our client did go above and beyond and request some preliminary borings. And on site, our borings, we found the depth of bedrock in our detention areas to be about 12 feet deep. So I just wanted to clarify that there may be varying degrees on site, but in the area that we're looking to detain, we're about 12 feet deep. That's all I have to comment.
Could you comment about the suggestion that you use a liner for the 2 retention areas?
There is, yes, we could look and explore the use of a clay liner, potentially to just slow down the release. Our engineers are working with the city right now because there's concerns that that second flush, per se, when the storm, when everything has subsided and the water has actually infiltrated, like we'd have to hold that water back a lot longer than just typical. So then that would lend to having standing water on site for a lot longer than just a slow release. But we can look and explore that if that's a an option.
Well, I think that what's been said, not just with regard to your project, but other times that we've dealt with this campus, that the issue of downhill damage because of the conditions to bedrock, et cetera, is a legitimate one. And so if we could take the precaution now and design these with a liner, it would seem that erring on that side of things makes more sense in terms of impacts overall, which is something we have to consider. So I know I'm going to be inclined to include that if we move ahead with action.
Good.
Okay, thank you very much, both of you, for the presentation and the speakers who offered comments on the application. We'll declare this hearing closed and see if there is a motion for action on first the re-subdivision and then the project plan review.
I would move approval for R1846 with a negative declaration.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Re-subdivision is approved. Is there a motion on the project plan review, Z2805?
I would move approval with a negative declaration with the condition that the storm retention areas include a best practices liner.
Second, is that your entire motion? Okay. I would second and just add for the record that we're very pleased that there was responsiveness to the community comments and the comments of the Planning Commission.
Absolutely.
Can you just repeat? Storm retention areas include best practices
liner for the storm retention areas. I think clay was mentioned, but I'm not going to design it here. I just want to make sure it's a best practices solution.
So best practices solution with a liner?
For a liner.
For a liner. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Motion, second, clarification. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The project plan review is also approved. And I think we're a little after 6:30.
I do know your dinner is not here yet, so we could
take one more.
Take one more. PR 1835, a project site review for new construction to construct an addition at 214 West Water Street. Syracuse Soma Project LLC is the owner and the applicant, and this lies within the Central Business District Office and Service District. This is the addition to the Amos building. You had declared this a type 1 action. We sent out coordinated review letters. The 30-day has passed, and the applicant's here to representative to give an update.
Good evening, James Trasher, 300 South State Street, CHA Consulting, representing the owner, Syracuse Soma LLC. With me tonight from their office is Mark Congill and Richard Pascarella. We're here really just to give you an update. We've been working the last 2 years, plus or minus, with the Landmark Preservation Board, city departments, the mayor's office, etc., as it relates to the proposed project. When we initially started the project, we looked at having an encroachment into the Water Street right-of-way based on comments that we got from Landmark Preservation Board. We pulled that back. Height of the building, building materials, all those things have changed over time. Currently, we're proposing a 10-story mixed-use development on the first level, retail facing South Franklin, a city lift parking system, which is an automated parking system in the center of the building, with display areas along West Water, which would be for sort of an interactive storefront along Water Street, our main entrance into what we're calling the Jacob in this location, and a connection, a hyphen to the existing Amos building, which would be shorter than the proposed building. So we've gone back and forth. Kate's here as she represents the Landmark Preservation Board as the secretary. As we've gone through multiple comments, we were there with them just this last week and received more comments. So our architect and team is looking at those revisions, as Heather said before. So this is really just an update because you have not seen this. So this is just a blown up of the site plan. So you can see our commercial spaces, stair areas here, elevator shaft in here, stairs as well. As I said, apartment entrance, and then this would be our 3-foot, 4-inch activated storefront that we would use for displays and things like that. We give you some of the elevations of the building. So if you look at this, we have Clinton Square up here, the original Amos building, you know, both sections. So this is Erie Boulevard side, this is the Water Street side. So addition, as we call Amos Phase 2, the proposed Jacob here is located with our entrance into our parking, one entrance off of Erie. Here we have our proposed building along Water, our hyphen, our connection where we have stairs, which maintains the datum line of the height of the building here and then going up. So we have, as I was saying, we've gone through multiple meetings, multiple comments, and we're trying to work as best we can with the Landmark Preservation Board as their comments as relation to, is this an attachment, is this an addition, building materials, building heights. But if there's any thoughts, comments that come from this board that we can take into the updates that we're making, we're more than willing to take those in. So that's what we leave. So this previous project, we got it to a point where you know, it was to the satisfaction of the Landmark Preservation Board. We hope to get there someday soon with the Landmark Preservation Board. We hope to be back on their December 20th agenda for another round of discussion and comments, and hopefully come to some resolutions. But if there's anything that you may have, we'd love to take that back to our architect and team, and they're here as well. So,
great. Thank you for the update, progress report, and there may be some comments from the commission here.
I have a couple. Oh, go ahead.
I would recommend asking the public if anybody did come to speak about this, because it is under our public hearing section. So just to ask if there's any members of the public who would like to speak.
Certainly. Are there individuals here who would like to speak on this project? If so, please come to the podium to provide your name, address, and then your comments in favor. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the application? And if so, please come forward, providing your name and address, and then your comments. Okay, it doesn't look like this evening we have individuals inclined to do so. So we'll return to the commission members and comments.
I have a couple comments.
Yep.
So, and I think you've already heard this or seen comments from the Preservation Board, but there's some inconsistency between plan drawings and elevation drawings. So one of the questions that I have is, in looking at plan, you have a typical floor plan drawing, and it says it's floors 6 through 10, but it really isn't because you're not doing balconies on the lower floors. So can you explain what exactly happens with that hyphen? Or at this point, what's happening?
Right here?
Yeah, what happens in there?
This is really the stairwell for the existing building, the connection. So previously, here, I take the microphone. So previously, we had this hyphen going all the way up to the top. So we had stairwell and elevators. And one of the comments that came from the Landmark Preservation Board was, can we take the elevator and put it internal to the building and move the stairwells that would be required for emergency egress within the main building? So we have now done that. We have stairwell at this end, and we've moved the elevator shaft and stairs for this entire complex here. If you go out there right now, you currently have a brick stairwell that's there. What the developer would like to do is have a connection, so addition, attachment, whatever the terminology that the Department of Interior would like to utilize for this. He liked on these levels to have some connectivity between these two buildings, so that's where we have this.
So it's a floor-to-floor connection?
Correct.
Okay. In addition, the balconies on the east side and the west side are different from one another, correct? The
Correct.
ones on the west have an external framing to them?
Correct.
Okay, and they don't on the east side?
Correct. These are cantilever.
Okay, in the plan, again, I did not write the sheet down, but the typical floor plan 6 through 10, it shows a continuous structure across the north and south apartment wall. And
Yeah, so that is incorrect as well.
Okay, so you'll...
They're all being corrected. We had
Okay.
those
But-
conversations.
But if I look at this drawing, so that obviously, I'm thinking about the exterior appearance. So you're saying right now it's going to be a continuous item, or it's going to be two separate
It's
balconies?
going to be two separate balconies with separation between, so
Okay.
really
So then it's not, it won't look like this?
Correct.
Okay, so then my next question is on the north elevation drawings and matching it up to the floor plan, the northwest apartment looks like the entire kitchen living space has no windows in it, but if you look at the north elevation, it looks like there's windows.
Yeah.
So which is it?
There's going to be windows. So
Okay.
the architect in doing, it's like rapid fire. We get comments and he tries to do the best he can and we get stuff back. So we spent some long, hard time this morning with him making sure that the updated plans that come back to the Landmark Preservation Board and this board all have everything.
So this drawing here in terms of fenestration patterns is closer to what you're presenting as opposed to the floor plan?
Correct.
Okay.
100%. Other than, I'll just say here, like windows here, these have been removed, so they keep similar datum lines going this way and this way through the building. So.
Okay, and on one of the drawings, it must be the north elevation, what looks like a pedestrian entrance was marked garage entrance, I think?
This is, yes.
Yeah, so that's
This is
really
right here.
that one there.
Correct.
Okay. Also, in one of the details, these, actually, I think it's this sheet again, the windows on the first and second floor are referred to as storefront windows, but the first floor really don't go down to the ground as a traditional storefront, so it'd be good to understand what you mean there.
Okay.
Is it really gonna look like a storefront, or are they just windows? And the same reference is used, it's all whatever, like, 102, so it's hard to tell what you're referring to.
Okay.
And then on the south elevation, where you do have these simulated storefronts, I understand what you're doing, mostly because a long time ago I reviewed this and approved it for the Landmark Theater building. My concern is that a 3-foot depth doesn't give you a lot of space, so, and I understand there's parking on the other side, but for it to be usable space, especially for displays, a body's got to be able to get in there to put the display in. It's not just the depth that you would allow for a display. So I appreciate the gesture, and I think that if you want it to be successful, it's got to be deep enough that someone can actually get in there and display it. I also think that you would have to tell us how it's going to be accessed. It looks like there's an exterior window, but also things like lighting should be provided, because if they're not lit, it doesn't do any good for 24-hour display and activity. Then I guess the last thing, and I realize I'm monopolizing this, so I apologize to my colleagues here, but this will be my last comment. You have a letter, I assume they're your consulting architects, that talk about the Secretary of the Interior standards and how to deal with the design of a new building, and that it should not copy a historic building, but it should complement it. And when you're proposing a structure that is literally almost twice the height of the immediately contiguous historic building, in spite of what happens around the surroundings, you have to do as much as possible to mitigate that excessive height. And one of the ways I think that you need to explore, and I'm hoping this is consistent with the Preservation Board, is that rather than present a very large planar box, that you give some three-dimensional quality to the building. Clearly with the addition or the new building to the east, there were projecting bays. I don't know that they have to be projecting bays, but you essentially have no window lintels, you have no window sills. It doesn't appear there's any roof line detail. There's not really a first floor storefront detail. I would recommend that in addition to balconies on the east and west ends, that particularly on the south elevation, you think about something, even contemporary pieces, that might add depth to the building. And I don't mean for you to do this exactly. There's that gigantic student housing project that's on the block north of Phoebe's on Genesee Street. And they have that convention that's very popular now in new design, where there are essentially metal awnings by windows and doors. I'm not suggesting that's the answer, but even that gives three-dimensional quality to what is, again, basically a large box. So you have a very highly articulated facade, not just in the Amos building, but in the former federal post office and courthouse on the north side of the project. Certainly there is tons of three-dimensional relief on the Niagara Mohawk building. So something that brings that into play. And then lastly, if you look at most of those properties from a color perspective, these are buildings that are warm tones. They're warm grays, not cool grays. And it was also very hard to read what the colors were. I don't know if it was looking at it on an iPad, but I would recommend that even if you want to use neutral colors, and I would suggest maybe throwing in accents, but if you wanted to stick with primarily neutral colors, that the surrounding buildings are mostly warmer grays, that would probably help. And this is all to diminish what in most other situations would be a no-go by doubling the height of a building contiguous to the historic building, in spite of the mid-20th century Federal Plaza that's tall, and in spite of the fact that the Art Deco building is tall. This is literally attached to the historic building, so you really have to think about ways to mitigate this height if that's what you want. So again, three-dimensional quality, some shadow line relief, and thinking about the color palette a little bit by the time you come back to us, I think.
Okay. No, we appreciate the comments, and we'll take those in. And there's been multiple iterations. Mr. Conjo was coming up, but we'll take those comments along with the Landmark Preservation Board comments and what we've done in terms of different datum lines, fenestrations, ins, outs, all those different things. So, you know, you can, and we appreciate it, but you put, you know, 7 people on a Landmark Preservation Board and you get 7 different comments. So,
well, I think our comments certainly can be, I mean, Kate's here taking notes, but we can officially pass them on. My comments to the board and any that my
That's what I was going to ask, whatever you have written there, if you can.
Oh, it's sort of not in English. I can give it to the staff if they need it.
Yeah, just so they get articulated. We can watch it on video and YouTube or whatever. We can do that as well. But we will take those comments and we will address, you know, the different things that we can do as it relates to this project. We do appreciate it. We look back, you know, hopefully we'll be back in January for your board meeting then.
So we'll continue to hold this hearing open as we go forward. And so thank you very much. Appreciate the update on this project. And we'll forge a... Oh, in that case, we have...
one. Do we have just one public hearing left? two are related?
Are they, they're combined?
West Fayette, and we have the Holly Ave. What do folks want to do? Let me just ask, did anyone appear for R-18-52, the re-subdivision on Holly Avenue, either to present the project or to speak in favor or to speak against? Okay. So in terms of public hearings, I think we have just 2 left.
They go together.
And they go.
One, then I can leave. I'm leave for your bid. I can leave. I won't pay. I'm not trying to buy anyone.
And it doesn't almost matter. If we're gonna make somebody wait, we must make everybody wait.
We were order stuff from the Scoop Acres.
And is anyone here for the new business items? Oh, you got cut off a little bit. We had you early on, and you're here for something that St. Joe's?
Yes.
Okay. Do we pause? Do we go ahead with the 2 where we have, or the 3 where we have people here?
Is the St. Joe's a public, it's not a public hearing though? Why isn't it a public hearing?
Because it's a business class A zoning district. Or no, I'm sorry, it's a PID.
Oh,
It's a PID.
okay. I don't. Yeah, let's try to do it, I guess.
Okay.
It would be nice.
We're gonna move ahead with items 10 and 11. These are related projects. We will hear them currently, and when action is proposed, we will act on them separately. Then we will hear item 3 under new business, and then pause.
Okay, so, 2 public hearings, companion pieces, R-1854. This is a re-subdivision to combine 2 properties into 1 new lot at 629 West Fayette Street and 105 Tioga Street. Coda Development Corp. is the owner. Stoop Bakery Cafe LLC is the applicant. This is in an industrial Class A zoning district. The companion piece is the special permit that is a result of the re-subdivision, or the reason for the re-subdivision, SP 1826. Special permit for a restaurant, 629 West Fayette Street and 105 Tioga Street. Coda Development Corp. is the owner. Stoop Bakery Cafe LLC is the applicant, and also industrial Class A zoning district.
Good evening, James Trasher, CHA Consulting, 300 South State Street, Syracuse, New York. With me is Eric Alderman, Stoop Bakery proprietor. We are here for 2 things tonight, as stated: re-subdivision of 2 lots into 1 lot, and a project site review or special permit. So West Fayette, Tioga Street, current existing building that has remained vacant for the past few years. Adjacent parcel we're looking to combine into 1 lot for a proposed restaurant. So I will let Eric just give you a brief overview of Stoop and what he's looking to do, and then I'll run through the site plan and the proposed waivers and modifications we've made.
Good evening. Thank you for seeing us. Eric Alderman, business address 311 West Fayette Street, Syracuse, New York. Excuse me, I'm currently the owner-operator of the Stoop Kitchen and Stoop Bakery Cafe, located at that address. Currently, our bakery production is in the basement of 311 West Fayette. We've been looking to move that production to a more suitable place for some time now, so that we could increase our production, increase the number of employees we have, and free up the basement of the 311 West Fayette Street for the restaurant use. So the proposal is what was a number of different things underutilizing the corner lot. I would say we want to move all of our bakery production into the building, which will allow us to have conditioned air, which we don't have in the basement of our current location. It will allow us to have more employees to do more baking and produce more product, and I think take advantage of an underutilized piece of property and make it a small but important anchor in what I perceive to be a fast-growing part of downtown Syracuse.
So that, as we stated, existing building that's been here, underutilized. It's been auto repair, used car sales. Currently has, between the two parcels, 3 curb cuts. One on West Fayette, one near the intersection of Tioga, and then one back that was to serve lot number 2. So we have, so 3 curb cuts. We eliminate 1 curb cut. In our initial proposal, this was 24 feet wide, 2 24-foot wide curb cuts based on comments and meetings. So we met with zoning, planning, engineering, DPW today to go through their comments and then update our plans to their satisfaction. So reduce the size of this curb cut for ingress, egress, reduce the size of this curb cut down to 10 feet for delivery vehicles, because trucks coming in with dough, produce, things that are needed for the bakery would be utilizing this driveway coming in. It's gated in this area coming out. So there's fencing that goes around the site, landscape treatment. Previously, we showed asphalt right up to the edge of the right-of-way to achieve the number of parking spaces that we need for employees and customers. We've added grass within the right-of-way, then a 4-foot grass strip in this area. We meet the landscape treatment area between the adjacent property and our parking area. We have 8 feet here. Currently, this is asphalt all through in concrete all through this area. We're going to put grass and landscaping in these areas. This is our proposed monument sign out front, carrying grass down to the front. Patio seating that would be put in front of the building. Previously, we had it coming out to the concrete sidewalk. We've cut that back so we didn't have an encroachment into the right-of-way. We relocated and modified the bike rack to the desired bike rack that the city transportation planner was looking for. We modified the parking slightly. And I'll go through the waivers, but we've added a strip right here to provide a little bit of buffer between the neighboring property. Currently, there's a fence located in this area, but through conversations, we've added this strip as well. And as I said, we have fencing that's going along this entire area with a gate and entrance. We're adding a fridge freezer to the back of the building, and so we have 5 parking spaces with 1 handicap spot in front, and then 10 in the rear for a total of 15 parking spaces, and then with a walkway access path from the sidewalk to the front door, off of the sidewalk, and in this area right here. We show proposed elevations of the building. And
before you move off the site plan, where's the access from the public sidewalk to the front door?
Right here. So we have right here's concrete sidewalk, concrete asphalt hatched area where they can walk.
So it's really just to the parking area, not to the front door?
It's into the parking area. So previously we had talked about having it here. Neil Burke requested it being moved away from the drive lane, and we moved it to this location based on conversations with all departments this morning. We had talked about it in this location coming off the patio, but the way from that the city, so everything that's out here, and this was a conversation that we had with folks this morning, was redone by the city of Syracuse DBW a year ago. Granite curbs and all this concrete sidewalk was done by the city. So we're coming in and modifying what they just did. We said, if you didn't want 2 curb cuts on a property, why did you keep a second one in if it shouldn't be there? And if you wanted grass in this area, why did you put asphalt and concrete back in? Needless to say, the owner, Coda Development, is willing to do this work along with the proprietor to give the city what they wanted. So we can't have this access here because we don't meet the 80 requirement, because we were going to try to do the connection right there. There will be the ability, we could even put concrete here, but it doesn't fit the slope requirements in that area. And there's no way to change it with the finished floor elevation of the building and the finished floor elevation of the sidewalk. So we proposed 3 or 4 planters here instead of street trees. You know, Mr. Alderman wanted to see like lilac trees or other things that if you put into normal beds, they would be killed off. So we'll work with Steve Harris on those 3 things. The city, DPW, and engineering and zoning and planning folks were okay with that. We've reduced the amount of impervious coverage drastically, because really this whole site is either runner crush or asphalt everywhere. So we've opened up a lot of that area. We're not required to do a stormwater pollution prevention plan or any mitigation as part of it, but the city engineer asked us today if we could put a dry well in the middle of our proposed parking area, and so we are going to do that. So no runoff from this back parking area will be directed to the site. Everything will be graded in to the dry well and then taken care of. As I said, elevations, we got the floor plans of where everything is, and there's a pickup counter, no seating. We have a patio area for the summer where you would look to put out a few tables for people who are coming in to have a cup of coffee and eat a pastry, bathroom details, and then a proposed building, you know, roof line, repainting, taking the existing sign banner that was previously there, putting the Stoop Bakery in, and really freshening up the area. Trash would be taken care of really on a daily basis. We don't have any dumpsters enclosures, so we'd have small totes that would be taken care of as part of the trash removal process. So I can go through the list of deviations and those items if you would want me to, based on Mr. Harrop's, or if you have any questions or comments.
Why don't you walk through the waivers, please?
Okay, so I'm not going to read all the chapter and verse, but the site plan shows an existing, let's see, driveway shall be located not less than 10 feet from the property line. The site plan shows an existing 22-foot wide driveway adjacent to the eastern property line. So this is what we're talking about right here. So currently, the existing driveway goes right up to the property line. We're bringing in a couple feet of buffer between. We really can't push it any further to the corner, so we're asking for a waiver from the board for that 10-foot requirement. In this location, it's been existing for years. As I said, DBW came in and just reinstalled it in that location. We're removing this as part of the project.
So, I appreciate that you're trying to address the distance from the property line, but what happens in whatever that little schmutz of a space is? What is that?
Correct.
I think that. And that's really an attempt to deal with this particular waiver, or for some other reason?
Oh, well, I would personally do nothing and just leave it as is.
So would I.
So this was just something.
Because it doesn't really address being
I agree.
2 feet away from the property line. I mean.
I agree. I would just leave this as asphalt, and then we have the 20-foot curb cut. You know,
and I don't know what's on the other property adjacent to it, but if it's literally
asphalt and a fence and an industrial building.
Okay. Again, I appreciate if it was to address this particular concern, but
we don't really need to do it. It was something that was talked about today. We said, hey, we're here willing to work with folks. This was a 24-foot.
Unless it's a required screening item.
This was an attempt to reduce the driveway width that Neil Burke had suggested was adverse. So that's why that
we're cutting down this
narrower.
Yeah, we're cutting down the throat here where that driveway width is. So.
But what is the curb cut? Was a curb cut installed at the inappropriate width, and an inappropriate width?
Yeah.
I have no idea what DPW did or when they did it, or for what land use or for what project, but all I can say is.
And with all due respect to good intentions, unless there's a curb against that schmutz, it's not going to be an effective decrease in drivable space. And I don't see a curb on the drawing, so I appreciate what Neil's concern is, and I usually agree with most of his concerns, but unless someone puts a raised curb there, especially if on the other side of this 2 feet in the adjacent property, it's asphalt.
Asphalt, then he has.
We're talking like this much. What are we doing?
We would like to leave it. We did this as a concession, but we did, I'll go through the list of all their comments. And
Well, I know I have all of Neil's comments, and I was looking at them, so I wasn't quite sure if that related to trying to be away from the property line, because
I
don't think it's worth it.
Statement is, we're not gonna be 10 feet, so the curb cut really is like right now 9.5, you know, or it's, well, this is 2 feet away, so we would ask for a deviation no matter what, because we're starting here. We're gonna reduce the width of this curb cut by 2 feet. We're gonna spend $5,000 cutting out a granite curb and an apron they just put in on this side. But if we push this way, we start losing parking, and it just doesn't work from a flow standpoint, because you have a 20-foot drive aisle that works.
So if you adjust the curb cut, which as I assume is Neil's primary concern, what happens once you're on the property? This isn't like a residential district where we have to have a 12-foot wide driveway, correct?
No, you can be 24 feet, you can be whatever. Minimum is 20 for two-way traffic.
Right, so it's the 10-foot buffer, that's the deviation from the driveway to the adjacent.
Right, so this 2 feet doesn't help them with that, is the point. They're still within 2 feet, they're not gonna be 10, they're still not 10 feet away. Okay, so.
You're all looking at me.
Well, I just wanna make sure I understand why it's being done. If it's being done because Neil wants it to be a 12-foot wide driveway, but.
One, an attempt to mitigate that they needed 10, they had 0, and to narrow the driveway because of Neil's concerns. So
But they're narrowing the curb cut, which gets at Neil's concern, correct?
So they're narrowing both the curb cut and that distance between the property by taking that line all the way down the 2 feet width.
But this 2 feet, what could be asphalt, it doesn't make a difference if it's asphalt or landscape, because there's not a landscape buffer, because we're industrial to industrial. So I could really have this as all asphalt right here. The matter is this 20 feet where we reduce it from 24 feet.
But you're doing that.
Yes, we're doing that.
And there's no requirement that the driveway on the property be 12 feet wide. Forget the distance from the property line. There's no requirement that the driveway be only 12 feet wide.
Well, what Neil's comments are that they get 24 feet to work with. Divide it up however you want. They have 2 driveways.
Gotcha.
So the ideal situation would be 12, 12.
Yes.
But this morning, we had a meeting.
Yes.
With Neil.
Yes.
And with engineering and myself. And this is, and as Neil stated, not ideal, but towards mitigating those effects that could happen with these very wide driveways.
So this is not 12.
This is 20.
This is 20, so it's not 12, which is what he wants, and this is 10.
So that's what he wanted in his letter when we met with him today. It was, here's the scenario, boom, boom. We pack up, we leave, you keep 3 curb cuts, we go and you keep this here. Or we figure out something that works together for everyone, and it was, instead of being at 48 feet, we were at 20 feet here and 10 foot here for a delivery entry. And he was acceptable to those.
I understand what's in his heart about this what's happening on the east property line. I just don't know that that 2-foot grass strip is gonna get him what he wants in practice. But
It's gonna get him this 20 feet here, because we're coming here and it's this.
yeah, I know that's 20 feet there, but once you're on the property, that's.
No, you can have asphalt here, you know, like here, we
Yeah.
can have asphalt coming back in here. We just can't have it within 8 feet because we're adjacent to a residential
Right.
property, so we have to have it 8
So
feet.
let me ask another question. An earlier comment by Neil was the encroachment was what was a gravelled landscaped area, but now it's lawn, so nobody in the city cared about the lawn going in the right of way. Okay.
We couldn't have stone mulch or wood mulch, but we could have grass.
Okay.
So we put grass in,
Okay,
correct?
that's what I understood.
That's what it,
Okay. I'm sorry, so you can go back to the waivers. The next one is about curbs.
curbs. So, curbs. So we have curb stops that we have installed at all locations to impede cars from going into the landscaped grass areas here.
So then this waiver is not needed based on that drawing.
It is because the requirement is curbing. They are putting in wheel stops, which
Oh.
the commission has accepted as a mitigating factor.
Okay. Gotcha. I
don't.
don't.
Not saying that across the board that has to be something accepted by the commission, but there is an attempt to stop the vehicles from going right away with the wheels.
I didn't read it as an or. I see it now. Okay.
Engineering and DPW both thought in this application it was acceptable, correct?
That's what I understood.
Okay. It's the signage. So we have right here, so we're proposing on this monument sign to put in 64 square feet of sign, 32 here, 32 here, that says Stoop Bakery, and then a building sign. So is the building sign, did you not count our building sign, my friend?
It doesn't deviate from the zoning ordinance.
Okay, so this right here is at 64, so that is, so we would be 24 square feet over, and I don't know, is there strong objection to that? We have the proprietor here who's, you know, if there is he's the one who can make that decision if there is a big concern. And then the next one is the minimum of 8 feet in width measured inward from the street line for the entire length of the sidewalk, exclusive for landscape treatment. So previously we had 0, we had asphalt right down here because asphalt goes right into concrete. So we added this, we took the stone mulch out from here and we added grass here and then 4 feet of grass inward, just because we needed some safety for the cars here, and we pushed everything back and kept it consistent. So,
So it's 4 feet on your property?
Correct.
And what's in the right of way? So what's the effective landscape depth?
7 feet.
Thank you.
But you still have 0 towards the corner.
Where?
The 2 spots.
The northern parking area.
Right there, down, right there.
Here?
You still have no landscape buffer there.
We do. This is grass.
Not on your property,
Right here, this is all property.
not in front of the parking spaces.
Oh, in front of these parking spaces?
Right.
Oh, yeah. If we push those ones back, we lose a front parking space. So we would request in these areas to go to 4, in these areas. Currently, if you went out there in the old days, you had cars parking all the way up to the curb. So we've effectively solved a lot of problems with this because, you know, you had used cars and stuff sitting all through here. So we believe all this will help. So we would request 0 in this area and 4 feet in this area with this landscaping here and 3.5 feet of grass going across between the back edge of the sidewalk and our parking stall. And then the site plan, well, there's one, I don't know, there's one on about that this lot is 66 feet wide and it needs to be 150 feet wide in some overlay district, but we really can't do that. And then the last one is that the size of the parcel is supposed to be 10,000 square feet and it's 9,860 square feet. So we're 140 square feet short on that. So we would request that a modification or a deviation from that.
So to go back to the monument sign, the ground sign, sorry, Since it's a brand-new sign, is there any reason why it can't just be proportionately reduced in size to comply with the maximum square footage, the 40 square feet, 20 square feet aside as opposed to 32?
If we could make it 42 instead of 40, we could do it easily.
That could be a deal.
So 3 by 7 and 3 by 7.
It's just that it's substantially larger than what this is, and as my colleague at the far end always likes to point out, we try to be consistent when we look at signs. So I think this would be consistent what we've done with other brand new ground signs where we've talked about reducing them and getting them closer to what the standard is. So
if we could do that, it would be 3 7.
3 by 7 on each side, it would be 42. We can make that.
yeah, I'm talking about proportionate. So sure.
Thank you.
And then pretty much, if you want me to, because you all have Neil's comments, and those were really the comments we sat down to go through. As I said, city standard is 1 driveway per parcel, commercial driveway 24 or less. It's my understanding and Heather's understanding, and if he was here, that this was the agreement between the 2 driveways, reducing size, and eliminating. Landscape stone bed should not encroach. We eliminated. Asphalt is not an approved right-of-way ground cover. That was for this area where we went to grass. Parking spaces will require a physical barrier to prevent encroachment. So that's where we have the wheel stop set so that the bumpers can't encroach over. The wave style bike rack, we had a different style bike rack, so we went to the desired bike rack, ADA compliant access, so we have the proper grades going through here. And if we have to stripe it out, if you want to see it striped out with like, hey, this is your walking path, we can do that, but this was felt to be sufficient. And the Tioga curb cut, he appreciated it. And then pretty much city engineering was reiterating, and we just have to provide them 1-to-1 offset where based on previous number of things in there, what we need to do and for the 1-to-1 offset. So we should be good to go if the board approves. And he would look to be open by Christmas. Just kidding. That was initially when we started this all out. He needed to have this bakery going ready for Christmas sales. It took a little bit longer than we anticipated.
I think we went through a lot of questions, but let me see. Are there further questions from the commission members? Okay, thank you very much. Are there individuals who might wish to speak in favor of this application? Any individuals who wish to speak in opposition to the applications? Okay. Everyone's been offered a chance. We have no additional speakers for either one, the subdivision or the special permit. We'll close both hearings. And let's now turn to the re-subdivision application. Is there a motion on this?
I move approval with a negative declaration.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Re-subdivision is approved, R-18-54. And now for the special permit, SP-18-26. Is there a motion on this?
I would move approval with a negative declaration, granting the requested waivers with the exception that the sign be reduced as we discussed at the meeting today, which I still understand would require a waiver because it'd be 2 square feet more or whatever it is.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Special permit is approved.
Thank you for all your time tonight.
Thank you.
And now, under new business, we have a site plan review at St. Joseph's Hospital, SR-18-09.
So this is site plan review for an antenna to construct and operate a base station at 301 1 Prospect Avenue. St. Joseph's Health Center is the owner, and Aerosmith Development is the applicant, and this lies within Planned Institutional District. And since the attorney is here and has been waiting so patiently, I will let him present this so that he feels he has not wasted his time here this evening.
My apologies. We didn't realize you were connected to another application much further down the agenda. We would have tried to bring them together so you weren't having to be here for so long.
That's fine.
With no further delay, please.
I'll speak quickly. Your pizza's getting cold. So again, Matt Kerwin with Barclay Damon here on behalf of AT&T. This is a pretty straightforward application. AT&T has a significant gap in their coverage, primarily in building coverage within the area around St. Joe's Hospital. And as they always do when they're trying to address a coverage gap, they look for existing structures on which to co-locate their antennas. St. Joe's Hospital is a perfect setting for this installation. I'm not sure if you got the photo simulations we provided. They came in after the application. So as I mentioned in my email to Heather, the antennas are outlined in black. They will, just so you can see them on the side of the building. They will not be outlined in black as part of the installation. Obviously, they'll be painted to match to blend in with the color scheme on the penthouse of the hospital. As the plans indicated, 8 antennas, 2 on 4 sides, along with some other ancillary equipment that helps the installation work properly and effectively. Any questions?
So they'll blend in quite nicely.
Certainly does.
Questions? Oh, wow. No questions.
Perfect.
An excellent presentation, or fatigue has set in too. Thank you very much for the presentation, seriously.
Thank you.
And let me also ask, as we do with every application, are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application?
It's not a hearing.
Oh, that's right. I'm in a rut. Okay.
You're hangry.
We can move immediately then to, unless any questions for staff regarding the proposal? And in that case then, is there a motion for action on the site plan review?
I move approval with a negative declaration.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? It is approved. Thank you very much. I don't know. Oh.
They're all going?
Oh, I bet someone was probably from St. Joe.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, good.
Someone might have been the technical person.
I just didn't want it to be for whatever.
Okay, we can slow down a little. Well, I guess I don't need to ask. We'll still have that hearing on Holly Ave kind of standing out. I guess we'll wait until the very end and then.
Or
Hold it open.
if you would like to hold it open to allow them an opportunity to come next time, or if you feel that you have enough information to proceed, then you can proceed.
Good at tonight. Okay. We still have new business to do an authorization. Shall we pause for a few moments and? I take that as agreement. Okay.
Take a 15-minute break?
Sure, 15 minutes.
20?
7:45.
Okay.
We'll resume. I didn't think we would go ahead.